Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So here are the tools that you'll need. You're going to need the fabric, of course, and again, you can use any fabric. You can use like old denim, or you can use old sheets, or just make sure they've been cleaned and bleached in the washing machine with hot water, so on and so forth. So you're also going to need elastic. So unless you already sew, you're not just going to have elastic hanging around. So I'm going to show you two different methods for this mask. For those people who don't have any elastic around, we're going to just kind of cut some strips of fabric, and I'll show you how we're going to do that so that you can tie them around the back of your head. You're also going to need needle and thread. That's if you're going to be hand stitching. Of course, if you have a machine, that's even better and quicker. You're going to need the pattern. So the pattern you can get at beautyjador.com, and it's going to come in a toddler up to a men's size. You're going to need pins. You're going to need a small safety pin, as well as scissors. I use a rotary, but you just need a pair of scissors. So let's go ahead and get started. So what you need to do is, on your fabric, you want to fold the fabric in half. And you want to place the pattern and pin it. My pattern is really thick, so I'm not going to use pins. And mine is really thick just because I make quite a few of these and I didn't want to just do it on regular paper. So this is what you need to make note of. When you're cutting this, you want to put an extra inch on the side here. And if it will help you, I'll go ahead and mark it. So you want to do about an extra inch. I'm going to eyeball it, but if you're more comfortable with measuring, you can do that. So about an extra inch on here. And that's just for this side. So you want to do an extra inch. And then around the remainder, you want to put about 1/4 of an inch. And do the same thing at the bottom. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this side is definitely way more important in terms of making sure you get an inch. So this is the front of the mask. So what you want to do is just go ahead and set this to the side, and now we want to take that same pattern piece and do this process again. But the difference is with this one, we're not going to add that additional 1 inch, but you are going to do the 1/4 of an inch around here. Hi, Chandler. Okay, so once you do that, we'll go ahead and set the fabric aside. So this just lets you know how much fabric you need, which is not a lot at all. So just keep these pieces separate. What you want to do is with the right sides together, you want to go ahead and pin these. And do the same thing for the inside of the mask. Just go ahead and pin around this portion. And also, this is a good time to turn your iron on because you're going to have to iron this flat once we get this stitched. Now, I'm going to take it over to the machine and I'm going to stitch close to the edge right here and on this part. So if you don't have a machine, you can go ahead and hand stitch. Okay, so what you want to do at the machine is just like right on the edge here. So it's right around the edge. Is go ahead and stitch. I clearly need to oil my machine. You can hear it. Okay, so here we have this. So after you do this, you want to take it over to your iron and press open this seam allowance. So you want to press this open. If I can get in here. All right, you want to press this open. Let's not even talk about these nails here. It's a hot mess. So if you're hand stitching, I'll just kind of do a quick hand stitch. You want to kind of start in the corner and you want to reinforce it. And it's the same premise as doing it on the machine, but of course take longer. And what I would recommend is once you get through the initial stitch, going all the way down, so if you see here, I went ahead and pressed this open. We're going to do the exact same thing with this piece. What are you doing, Chandler? And I'm going to go ahead and press this open, just like I did the other one. Okay, so after you've gone ahead and pressed those open, what you want to do now is top stitch. And this is going to reinforce this seam even more. So top stitching, I'll show you after I'm done so that if you can't see it. But it's technically placing a stitch on the top of this seam. And you want to do it as close to the seam as you can. You see this? This stitch right here, the top stitch. And what you want to do is you want to do that for both pieces. Okay, so once you have the two pieces top stitched, what you want to do is now pin the two together. So with right sides facing, start at the top here. And just pin all the way around. And of course, your 1 inch is going to be longer and hanging out on this side, which is exactly what you want. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and take it over to the machine, stitch all the way around here and at the bottom as well. And again, if you don't have a machine, you're going to hand stitch and then go over it a second or even a third time. Okay, so now again we want to go ahead and stitch this up. And do the same thing with the bottom. See, we have this here. So now what you want to do is go ahead and open this up. So you want to turn it right side out. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, you want to go through this top half and you want to clip it. So what you want to do is just take it and just kind of cut into it. But make sure when you're cutting into this that you're not cutting into the stitch. So you want to do this all the way around. If you accidentally cut into it, you want to go ahead and reinforce that stitch with the machine again, or of course if you're hand stitching. You just want to go through, clip this whole thing. Okay, so once you do that, then you want to go ahead so this is right side out. Then take it over to your iron and press these seams as flat as humanly possible. Okay, so I have it ironed. So what I'm going to do now is top stitch around the entire mass. Now, if you're doing this by hand, you don't necessarily need to add that additional step. It kind of prevents it from moving around, but what I've noticed is that it doesn't do much moving around anyway. So is it necessary? No. This is just kind of like paying a little extra attention to detail. It's not necessary if you're hand stitching because that's just going to add additional work. But if you have a machine, I would say go ahead and top stitch it. Yes, baby.
Wait, did you pause that?
Okay, so we have a top stitch, and I like to just kind of press it out one more time. Okay, so we have basically the mask done. Now we're going to work on installing the either elastic or straps. So what we're going to do is turn this over. Let me grab my pins. So you see how you have this extra part here, which is this 1 inch. What you want to do is fold this in. Fold that 1 inch in. And you want to kind of loosely pin it. You sleepy over there? And you want to do this for both sides. So you want to fold this 1 inch in, pin it, and then take it over to your iron and iron it flat. Okay, so after we've ironed this over as much as we could, what you want to do is go ahead and fold it over about 1/4 of an inch. Again, pin it, iron it as much as you can, and then what you want to do, you want to go ahead and stitch this down. You want to stitch this as close to the edge as you can. So you want to do both sides. So fold this over about 1/4 of an inch, pin it, iron it, and then go ahead and stitch that. Go ahead and stitch as close to the edge as you can. Back stitch at the beginning and at the end. My thread just broke. And you want to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so you have the mask pretty much done. Now we want to go ahead and do the elastic portion on the side. So we want to take the safety pin, and you're going to need a small enough safety pin, so keep that in mind. And we want to go ahead and feed this through the side. So what I do at this point is take the pin out, take this over to the machine, do a zigzag stitch to close this up, and then we're going to feed it back through. 2, So what I end up doing is just like reinforcing it like crazy. You don't have to go that hard, but I kind of do. So now what you want to do is go ahead and feed it back through. And then what I do is take and just sew this little portion right here. So it's going to reinforce this elastic and not allow it to move. And this is the one side. So we want to do the exact same thing that we just did for that to the other side. Okay, so we have the completed mask here. And keep in mind, everyone's face, width, length, and all that is going to be different. So you want to adjust the elastic to whatever kind of fits your comfort level. So if you don't have the option of elastic, what you want to do is you want to kind of make your strips. So it's going to fit different. It's not going to fit around your ears. The option is going to basically tie around the back of your head. So I cut this 2 inches wide by 15 inches long, just kind of as a sample of how it would fit the back of my head. I kind of have a big head. So this 15 inches in length, it's a real comfortable fit for me. So what we want to do is go ahead and we want to fold this over. So we want to fold this evenly. You want to fold it here and here, the same distance. So you're going to have to kind of play around with it. And then fold this over. And you want to do this all the way down. Once you do that, you want to go ahead over to the iron and you want to press it. You want to press this entire process down. Once you do that, you want to fold it over one more time, which will look like this. So I'll go through that one more time. You want to press this over so these two ends meet in the middle. Once you do that, and then press it out so that way it'll be nice and flat and easier to work with. And then you want to press it over one more time, like so. And you want to do that to all 4 pieces. Okay, so I have the strips pressed over. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and take it to the machine, and I'm going to stitch as close to the edge as humanly possible. And so what I want to do also with one edge, which I failed to mention this before, but you want to kind of open up one edge of it, fold it over, and then fold it back. That way, when you stitch it, you're stitching all of this closed. And we'll just leave this side open. So we'll go ahead and stitch it closed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch this. So again, you want to stitch it as close to the edge as you can. And one thing I don't think I mentioned is that when you fold this over, you want to make sure it's completely even all the way down, and it's folded over evenly. Simply because when you go to stitch this, you want to make sure you grab the top and the bottom piece. So we want to go ahead and do that to all 4 pieces.